Yeah, it's up. I'm sure the numbers are really good. But I can tell you something. When I was hired, and I was in line to get a draw one evening, and he pulled me from line because earlier in the night I was talking to Johnny Ace in his office, and I was crying, and I had said I'm begging you for my release. And Johnny's like, we're not giving you your release. And I was like, Johnny, please, you're not using me. I'm not happy. So he must have went and told Vince. And Vince pulled me from line, and Vince is like, take a walk with me. And we start walking, and he goes, you're a beautiful girl, and beautiful girls are a dime a dozen. I have no idea what you can do. And I looked at Vince. I am not lying when I say this. I looked at Vince, and I said to him, didn't you buy our tape library? And he just looked at me, and he's like, well, I didn't watch it. I don't watch it,
yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, well, he has his crew that watches stuff and reports back, and then I was told that like Shane McMahon was the big ECW, I don't want to say mark, but fan. He loved ECW. Right. That was Shane's thing. So I'm thinking, oh, well, maybe Shane told his dad who to hire, and that's how, or I know Tommy had a big part in it too. But for Vince to tell me, somebody that was hired, that he never saw my work and didn't know what I can do. Like, I'm thinking to myself, how on earth am I standing next to you under contract in this building right now? Seriously.
Strange.
Like, it blew my mind. It just blew my mind. But, and then I said, should I have even mentioned the library? But it was the first thing that came to my head. Like, if I bought something for whatever amount of money, I'd sit there and I'd watch it. I'd be curious to see, what they were doing or what the competition was. He never watched us. I don't know.
And certainly you'd at least go back and, I know like Howard Finkel does a lot of that kind of stuff. You'd go to Howard and say, I'm thinking of hiring this girl, Francine. Can you pull me up some clips so I know that you would hire somebody, like you said, put you under contract and have no clue what you're capable of?
That's what he said to me. That's what he said, and I was blown away. And then that's when I kept saying to him, well, I'm willing to work. I'm willing, because they had me doing bikini stuff. I just want to work. I was told I can do what I did for Paul. Let me do what I did for Paul. And no.
So senseless. When I was up there in 96, and I've told people this quite often throughout my career, it was the worst 6 months of my entire career. Before or since.
I mean,
worse than
I was
any
there
indie
6
run.
months too.
Ooh, tough run, wasn't it? But he never once, and him and Jim Ross and Pat Patterson, every television, they would ask me a million questions about ECW, but I picked up very quickly. One thing Vince never did was use the letters ECW with me. He would say, with like some backhanded euphemism, when you were in the Bingo Hall Company, when you were in the minor leagues, when you were in the Blood and Guts Company, when you were in the Small Pond, and it wasn't lost on me. I was catching it every time he would say that, and I kept thinking to myself, how long will it be before he says ECW to me? And he never did.
Right.
Never one time said those letters to me, which to me is pretty astounding, considering, like you said, he bought the library and hired how many people from there.
Right.
Pretty telling.
I didn't get it. I didn't get it, and everybody was willing to work just as hard as we worked for Paul, and just we were all just dumbfounded, and we would just get sitting theater and just stare at each other, and we're just like, I wonder when we're getting released. That's what we said every week. I wonder when we're getting released, So it was brutal. It was apples and oranges.
Yeah, and that's a fun way to go to work, isn't it? Every week thinking that and wondering that. And
it was horrible.
Wow.
It was just hard. I told you, my stomach was in knots. I hated getting on the plane. And then there were times when I would get a phone call from Howard, and he would be like, he would be scared to tell me. And he would say, oh, you're not on the road this week. I'd say, okay, thank you. And I was so happy because I knew I was getting paid. I'd get my check on Monday, and I'd get to sit home. you know? And like, you know, I guess the boys would be upset. And I was like, no, Howard, it's fine. Thank you. And I'd hang up and I'm home another week. I loved it, you know, but for someone who was willing to work and willing to put their body out there and do whatever, you know, in the ring and take the bumps, they didn't let me do anything. So I value Paul for just, you know, giving me a chance, being green, didn't, you know, never knew anybody in the business and just got out of their wrestling school. And he gave me such a break. And I'm so thankful to him and to you because you took me under your wing. And I think we ran with that ball. So we did pretty good for ourselves.
And had fun and had a hell of a lot of fun doing it.
Had a lot of fun.
See that?
Yep.
What amazes me, Franny, with what you're just saying, I mean, I've this has resonated in my head since I was there in '96. But you know, if every kid playing, you know, Pop Warner football right now aspires to one day play in the NFL, they would cut their right and left arm off if they could go right to the NFL. Wouldn't be very good once they got there, but the same thing in every other sport. For wrestling, and I'm hearing now through the great, you know, several grapevines that the kids up there now are miserable. And, you know, you and I both experienced that at different tenures there. But it astounds me that for all these people in this business that work as hard as we work in this industry, that once they get there, there's this big letdown, like, I can't wait to get out of here. And I don't know if anybody's ever played in the NFL that says, boy, I can't wait to get out of here and go play for the Canadian Football League or the Arena Football League. It's astounding, but it really does speak, I think, of the style and the way that they treat people up there.
It's like the hope spot, you know, and the false hope spot, and then it's taken away from you, and you're just like, I got the rock, I got a rock, you know, like Charlie Brown at Halloween. It's you're dumbfounded. It's so it's traumatizing, really, because then you're questioning yourself. You know, what am I doing wrong? Yeah. Like, why aren't they using me? And I just, you know, I was never one to, I don't politic behind the scenes. I never had to.
Right.
Cause, and you know as well as I do, I mean, Paul was so one-on-one and open and you know, you can call him and, he was easy to talk to and he was there for us. And, Vince is just, he was totally different, not really approachable, although, the one meeting I did have with him, you know, he told me, next time you see me, he goes, you have to run up to me and smack me on my back and ask me, what have you got for me tonight, Vince, or something to that effect. And what do you got for me, Vince? Yeah. And I looked at him and I said, are you sure? I was, it was weird, you know? And he goes, no, because next time you see me, I want you to run and smack me on the back and say, what do you got for me tonight, Vince? So we were at Monday Night Raw. It might have been a week later or something. And I see him and he's standing there with a bunch
Please
of
tell me you tatered him.
No. Well, no, I hit him really hard. I did hit him in the back because I smacked him. But I ran like a fool. This is me in my mind frame. I ran down the hall like a nut. And I went up to him and I smacked him on the back. I said, hey, Vince, what do you got for me tonight? And he hugged me. And as he's embracing me, I'm going to myself, what am I doing? Like, what? I don't understand. Where's this going? And he let go of the hug and he looked at me and he said, that's my girl. And he walked away. And I go, I'm standing there. Like, everybody walked away from me, so now I got to walk back to where I was, and I felt like a fool. But he put me on TV. They wrote me into TV. And so for the next 2 weeks, I was on their television, and then they paired me with Balls Mahoney, which I didn't care. It was fine. I was his manager. And then Balls took the piss test, and they found something in his urine. So he was on a suspension. So they call me and they're like, get your bathing suit ready. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, no. Now I'm doing bikini stuff. And I was pulled off TV because they had no one to pair me with, you know? But so he was nice to me. I'm not saying he was a mean person or anything. he just wasn't that approachable person that Paul was. Paul was just hands-on, listened. Didn't feel uncomfortable when, like, with Vince, I was just like, I don't understand what's happening. Like, I'm just intimidated by this man, and he's just larger than life, and Paulie he was just like one of the boys, even though he was the boss, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it was just different, really different.
I've always tried to psychoanalyze this myself and have with Vince over the decades, but to me, I always look at it like, what do you get a billionaire for Christmas? You don't go out, hey, Dad, here's a nice tie I got you, or here's a tie, or here's a nice pair of slacks, or a nice dress shirt I got you. I think what Vince does, and I've seen it, so many times, both before I was there and since, and now hearing your story, that I think he genuinely gets off and enjoys playing with people's lives. And, when you're trying to set up your life and set up your career and do things like that, that's a pretty condescending way to treat people, I think. For my 2 cents worth, I think it's bullshit.
He can, he's Vince McMahon. I mean, he could do whatever he wants, I'm not saying I'm the best worker in the world, but all I wanted was a chance to prove that I could.
What you could do.
Right. I could do something. Out of the locker room that I was in, out of all those girls that were still, that been working, I had the most experience. Back then I was 13 years in the business. That's like a vet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, here I am going to catering. Does anybody want anything? 2-3 years? Give me a water, get me a cookie, get me this, get me that. Okay. And I'd come back because it wasn't my locker room. And I'm just trying to fit in and I wanted to make friends. You know what I mean? And
sure.
I said to myself, wow, I just wanted a chance and I didn't get that chance. So, it just wasn't a pleasant experience for me there, but it is what it is. And I knew it was going to be my last big run. And I figured, let me give it a chance, try and make some money, and see where it takes me. And I remember traveling one weekend with Al Snow, and I was telling Al, I said, when I signed my deal, I only wanted to sign a year. I didn't want to sign for 3. And they wanted me to sign 3 because they wanted me to prove I was loyal. That was the wording they used. So I had to sign a 3-year deal. And I was telling Al that night, I said, Al, I can't stomach it anymore. I'm not going to last the 3 years. Oh, yes, you will. Yes, you will. And I'm like, I won't. I said, I'm telling you right now, if I last a year, it's going to be a year too long. I lasted 6 months. 6 months. That was it. And
that's from somebody that's already proven themselves in the business and obviously has a connection to the fans. And the best he can come up with is when you see me run up and hit me on the back and say, what do you got?
Yeah.
That is so incredibly condescending from where I come from. I'd have more respect for you if you just say, hey, fuck you, Francine. If I got something for you, I'll give it to you.
Right. And that's what I was asking Johnny. I just said, if there's nothing that you want me to do in this company, let me go. If there, I can talk, I can bump, I can work. If you don't want me to do any of that, let me go. We're not letting you go. Just tell me. And all I wanted was a fair chance, and they just, it just wasn't given to me. So, it's fine. Whatever.
Well, you said
you live and you learn.
You said something. Yeah, absolutely. You said something earlier that really stuck out to me when you said, and I'm not putting words or verbatim, but something along the lines about how open Paul was and, how Vince was so, difficult to approach. Now, how many times have you heard in your career the phrase, oh shit, you drank Paul's Kool-Aid, as if we were all under a trance there or doing something. And the reality of it is that you worked your ass off. We all worked our asses off for Paul was because of what you just said, that it was an open forum. If we had a question, we could call him or go to him raise it and, bring it up and, get some feedback. It wasn't just this condescending, I'm the exalted one, you can't approach me.
Right. Here's the thing, and this is what people that talk about the Kool-Aid and all that BS, this is what they don't get. I was there for 7 years. I trained there. I started training in 93. I did house shows up until they debuted me in 95 for television. Up until 2001 when we went under. I stayed the whole time. I was offered a couple times to leave. I never left, never wanted to. When you love what you do and you have the passion for what you do and you believe in the people you work with, you're going to try to believe whatever people are telling you because you want to work for that company. I wasn't under a trance, and he didn't hypnotize me. I believed in our product, and I wanted to stay because I thought maybe there was a chance that something would come through. The last night in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, I mean, it was devastating for me because Paul didn't even come to that show, and it was the last show that we ever ran, and all the guys are in the ring drinking beers and cheering, whatever. I was in the back crying because I knew we were done. We knew it. We knew it. And I couldn't make my way out there because I couldn't breathe. To me, like, part of my life ended that night. And, it's hard because as a locker room, we gave everything to that company. And it makes me angry that people talk like that because, I mean, we loved it. We worked for free. We tried to help. We tried to save it. We did all that we could as performers. We could have wrote checks and gave them to Paul to help, but we didn't have money either. You know what I mean? Like that would have been the final straw that we could have did, but none of us had the money to do something like that. But I mean, we stuck it out until the end because we believed in the product. It wasn't because we were like disciples or we were just people who wanted a company that we loved to last, and unfortunately it didn't. So I hate when I hear that Kool-Aid thing because if you didn't live it, you don't know. So people just need to stop.